Would you be able to say with confidence at glance which of these two clips was shot on 60mm film and which one digitally with the Canon EOS M? Certainly, if you look closely and spend time examining the images, you'll find details that reveal the differences. However, at first glance, for ordinary people, it's difficult to say which image came from an analog source and which from a digital one. And the reason it's difficult to distinguish between the two clips is because the Canon EOS M, combined with Magic Lantern, gives us an image that, with some basic adjustments, gets very close to the image we get, in this case, from a Kodak Vision 3 film negative stock. Let's prove it. But before we go on, pay attention. At some point in the video, I'll tell you how to enter a giveaway for a product worth $450. So stick around. For the film shots, I used a Krasnogorsk-3 60mm camera with a Meteor 1769 zoom lens and Kodak Vision 3 50D film. For the digital shots, I used a Canon EOS M paired with a Sigma 1750 zoom lens, which was the closest lens I had to match the focal range of the Meteor lens. Compared to a 35mm film frame, the standard 60mm film has a crop factor of about 3.41. The math is pretty simple. You just use the diagonal of the format. A 35mm film frame has a diagonal of 43.3mm, while a standard 60mm film has a diagonal of 12.7mm. So the crop factor is 43.3 divided by 12.7, which gives 3.41 crop factor. On the EOS M, I used the preset 1:1 1620p with a 4:3 aspect ratio and 14-bit. This preset gives us a resolution of 2160 by 1620, which offers a high crop factor of 3.88, very close to 3.41 crop factor of 16mm format. The previous matching was done using the same lens with both cameras with a 70mm focal length. As for the exposure during the shots, I used an external digital light meter for the film. I overexposed the ISO 50 negative by one stop by writing the film in my light meter as ISO 25. On the EOS M, for my exposure, I relied on false color. I invite you to watch the video on this Magic Lantern topic. Let's see why, in my opinion, the image from the EOS M has a color rendering similar to that of analog film. Here are the images from both cameras. For the Vision 3, I request to the lab a ProRes file in log profile, while the EOS M footage is in RAW format. At the beginning of my Node 3, I applied a color space transform node to convert the film from Rec. 709 Xenon film log, which is the color space in which the lab delivered the footage, to DaVinci Wide Gamut, which is my usual working space in my workflow. In the last node, I switched from DaVinci Wide Gamut to Rec. 709 for the final output. And in between, I added a node for small simple adjustment for exposure and color balance. The film image initially had a greenish-yellow color shift, not because of the film stock itself, but rather than to the Meteor lens, which causes this color shift. To correct this, I performed just a color balancing and adjusted the exposure. For the EOS M image, I only made a slight exposure adjustment and balanced the colors to match the film image as closely as possible. Aside from film texture, such as grain, some dust, or mechanical uses like head wave or slight exposure shifts, which we'll simulate and add to the Canon footage later in this video, the look of the two sources are very close with only minor adjustment made, confirming my initial statement on how the EOS M, powered with Magic Lantern, is a small but powerful cinema camera. Returning to our initial clip, what happens if we apply the Vision 50D negative film stock to the EOS M, which is the negative stock used for the film footage? I'm gonna use the Hanser to apply the Vision 50D negative stock to the digital footage. And this experiment can help us to see how accurate the negative stock offered by the plugin is. The first node is a color space transform from the camera's color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut working space. The last node is for converting from DaVinci Wide Gamut Scene Referred working space to my display referred Scene Rec. 709. In these two nodes, as I said before, I've made a few adjustments to exposure, contrast and color balance. I will add the enhancer right before my CST output node. By default, this is the image that the enhancer gives when you first apply it. First, we need to correct the color space, which is not Rec. 709 but rather DaVinci Wide Gamut, because we are applying the enhancer in a node which is into that color space. Then disable all the default active tools. And to get a cleaner and less cluttered view by closing all expandable tabs, we click on Input while holding down the Option K on Mac. Now select the Vision 3 50D from the Film Negative Stock menu and enable it. The image will lose contrast and color, but it's not a problem, because as any negative film sent to the lab goes through a standard development process with minor adjustment to color and contrast during scanning or printing, we can emulate this process in the enhancer using Film Developer. We enable it, increase the color, and adjust contrast by fine-tuning the gamma correction. Before, after. By applying the Vision 3 50D stock to the Canon EOS M clip, we get closer to the look of a film footage. In my opinion, for this specific experiment, the enhancer's emulation of this negative stock comes quite close to the look of the analog version. So the enhancer reached out to offer me a license to try their plugin, but since I had already bought a license some time ago, I suggested we give away a lifetime Enhancer Pro license valued at $449. To enter, just watch the video, leave a like on my channel, and comment below including the word Enhancer. The winner will be announced in the description of this video on November 30. Just to be clear, this video is not sponsored by the Enhancer and I'm not being paid. This is a way for me to share something useful with my community. Good luck! If you want to go a little further, since the topic of this video is achieving a cinematic look, let's try printing both source onto Kodak 2383 film stock. Starting with the film footage, I'll apply the enhancer to a serial node before the Rec. 709 output node, in the DaVinci Wide Gamut color space. We'll set the color space in the plugin to DaVinci Wide Gamut and disable all tools as previously done for the EOS M clip. Then we'll simply print into Kodak 2383 film stock and apply highlight compression in the film compression tab. We'll do the same in the EOS M clip with a few additional adjustments. We had previously applied the 50D negative stock and some adjustment with the film developer. We are printing on Kodak 2383 film stock. Reduce the tonal contrast and increase color density. Then I also apply film compression here, adjusting the impact, shifting the white point slightly towards a warmer tone, and adjusting the pivot. The adjustments are very subtle and barely noticeable. Now we are working on texture and those small details of analog film. Starting with the film grain, I grabbed a still from the 60mm film clip as reference point and split the screen. Let's zoom in to see better the grain. We'll apply film grain to the EOS M image, which is on the right side of the screen. By default, it's set to 35mm ISO 250, but we'll select what we are interested in, 16mm ISO 50. The grain size is quite similar to that of real 60mm, but the amount is excessive. So we'll go into custom mode, keep the default grain size, and reduce the amount to 0. I think we are pretty close now. I lower the amount in the shadows to 15, in the midtones to 40, and in the highlight to 40. We can see that the result works quite well. If we look closely at the clips shot on film with the Krasnogorsk-3, they show noticeable frame jitters and slight changes in the exposure, mainly due to the internal mechanics of budget cameras. Additionally, the physical handling of the film can lead to some dirt appearing on the negative. Through the enhancer, it's very easy to recreate these artifacts automatically using film damage, film breadth and gate wave. In film damage, we select the 60mm preset and enable it. Then we enter custom mode and reduce the dust amount to 2, leaving only the hairs and dust enabled, while disabling scratches. We also select amount jitter. In film breadth, which simulates micro exposure changes, we select the 60mm preset and enable it. Then we enter custom mode and set the color to 0. In gate wave, we select again 60mm and enable it. Then in custom mode, we deselect auto zoom and set the horizontal movement to 15. And this is the final result. The resemblance between the two sources is incredible. I'm very happy with the outcome. See you next time!